Hi everyone, welcome to our presentation. My name is Duaa and this is Beatriz, and the topic of our dissertation today is CSR and aid organizations facing scandals and criticism. So the donation to aid organizations are increasing because poverty and natural disasters are widespread in many countries. But criticism is found among society regarding some aid organizations where the aid delivery is seen as inefficient or financial scandals have occurred. Aid organizations are more sensitive to scandals than other forms of organizations because their whole foundation, their whole social mission is to give to the less fortunate and is built on trust. Even though scandals in aid organizations are not many in general, they are long-lasting and have an immediate effect on society's trust and on their brand image. Red Cross's brand image was tarnished after the scandal of Johan Donner, which was the fundraising manager, where he was accused of swindling the organization of 5.2 million Swedish crowns and an additional 2.5 million Swedish crowns from the Swedish Cancer Society. When wanting to this has led to mistrust and unwillingness to cooperate with the aid organization because their whole organization was seen as people didn't trust their organization anymore. So in order to achieve consumer trust and build a strong brand, many companies tend to introduce corporate social responsibility, and the translation of that is the social responsibility companies take towards society. Our purpose of this dissertation is to locate CSR as a repairing strategy in order to face scandals and criticism among aid organizations. And therefore, our main question is, how can CSR be used when facing scandals and criticism in aid organizations? And now Beatriz will tell you a little bit about the theoretical framework we used in our dissertation.
Yes, in previous research we have found that CSR have been identified as how to obtain social responsibility in aid organizations. And been a lot of study about CSR, and criticism against them have been growing. And this also affects aid organizations because they work with this daily through their social mission. And due to increasing competitiveness and customers' demand on aid organizations, researchers have found that it's very important for aid organizations to have a high brand credibility. And this is also because they need to reflect their social mission. And another thing that branding is very important for aid organization is because the society turns to the organization that is best well known, and also the organization that they have the highest trustworthy, they have the highest trust in. And so the organization need to use CSR because CSR can increase their trust, and therefore it's very important to use CSR when they brand their organization. And of course, criticism will be against organization as well. Well, in the research we have found that criticism that have been in the research is about how organizations spend their money and also about the society's attitude towards their existence. And one example is about that people do not accept that aid organizations spend their money in things that is not directly used to help people. Moreover, when facing scandals, studies have shown that aid organizations need to rebrand to decrease their trustworthiness. And when we say rebranding, we mean that they need to reshape and imply a new vision to their brand. But also this means that they need to do this because they have to narrow down the interpretation that society can have on aid organization. And that's why it's very important to communicate and inform the organization, the society, about what they do. And then Duaa will talk about the method that we use in our study.
So, in order to fully understand how aid organizations work, CSR and qualitative approach was conducted. We had a semi-structured interview with these 4 aid organizations, which are UNICEF, Red Cross, EFCF, and Individual Människohjälp, where the last 3 aid organizations here, they had a second-hand store, and we visited that as well for a pilot study, where our aim was to pre-test our questions on the store managers in order to avoid misunderstandings. Descriptive research was our research design because it provided understandings of how aid organizations use CSR. An abductive approach was used because it starts with an already existing theory about CSR, but with our collecting data we had different results. And we have 3 different themes in our analysis here in order to answer our research question, and these are the effect scandals has on a brand, society's current criticism, and aid organizations' interpretation of CSR. And now Beatriz will tell you a little bit more about the first 2, and I will continue later.
Yes. So the effect a scandal has on a brand. To understand how scandal can have effect on your aid organization, we asked the respondents about their point of view. And they said that communication and openness is very important to rebuild a brand. And they also claimed that a scandal decreased their trust in the organization. And because their brand is based on trust, and but even though the Red Cross knew that scandal can decrease their trust, they were open with what has happened with the scandal of John of Donor. And when it comes to communication, the head of information of Erikshjälpen said that they try to inform a society to prevent speculations. And another thing that we could interpret from the interview was that they wanted the society to understand that things can happen, and that projects can fail, but they need to try, because if they don't try, they will never develop. And then I will speak about society's current criticism. And the director of corporate and partnership of UNICEF stated that scandal affect the whole market. And she claimed that she got a lot of questions about the scandal that happened in the Red Cross. And because of aid organization's social mission, people might think that they work in the same way, and that therefore it's affect the whole market. And as you can see, they don't even have the same color in their brand, but still they will have difficulty to separate their organizations. And the last one is?
And for the last theme in our analysis, it's aid organizations' interpretation of CSR, where we ask the respondents to tell us how they view CSR and how they work with it. And aid organizations such as the Red Cross and Individual Människohjälp, they work with CSR internally, while aid organizations such as UNICEF and Erikshjälpen work with CSR externally, where they provide other companies into being socially responsible. And this indicates that these aid organizations are not only conscious about their CSR work in their own business, but are actually introducing the concept to others as well. And this shows something different than what we found in the literature, where CSR was mostly about how how the companies work with CSR toward their own business. And for our conclusions, our findings show that consumers have inefficient knowledge about the different aid organizations, and criticism towards one aid organizations can affect the whole market because society consider that all aid organizations are the same and cannot distinguish the different aid organizations apart. And that was it.
And then we also found that criticism against aid organization is changing because nowadays it's more about the immigration and integration questions that the aid organization was speaking about. And also that communication and openness is very, very important for the rebranding when facing a scandal. And and that aid organizations need to be open and communicate towards the society. By using CSR, the society's more expectation will be met, which will enable them to rebuild their brand and their image again.
And suggestion for future research, we had 2 suggestions. Because we only interviewed aid organizations in Sweden, it would be interesting to look at CSR and aid organizations abroad and then compare it with CSR in aid organizations in Sweden. And the second one is that it would be interesting to concentrate on the consumer's perspective and look at how CSR, what impact CSR has on consumer donation behavior. That was all for us. Thank you for listening.